Hi all. I just thought I've had quite a few conversations recently about giving and the different variety and ways of giving financially, mainly, and kind of looking into the Gospels and seeing how um, kind of what Jesus thinks about it. And I think it's good to see it in a very rounded way. I think traditionally in churches we've always seen it like we tithe to um, one particular place, or we everyone has their own personal ways of giving, which is wonderful. So I'm kind of not looking into that particularly. I just want to say what I feel like Father has shown me about how we we use in the whole community, and how we do this in a very kind of servant-hearted way. So Jesus was he earned his money through what we often call tent making, like the Apostle Paul did. He was a carpenter, like his father, but also during his ministry time, he walked around the land, and he was healing people and doing his wonderful ministry in such a short space of time before he died for us, and obviously was risen again in glory. He was also supported. So, because you can imagine if he was walking around um, and he was spending lots and lots of time with his father, he wouldn't have been so much in the workshop, in the woodworking shop. He was probably spending his time ministering. And during that time, the Gospels, I think you probably need to read the Gospels to just get the whole feel of it. So I'm not going to go through verses and all that sort of thing, but I'm going to just say read the Gospels if you want to get an overview. He was supported by particularly many women who were walked around, and they supported him, perhaps from their own, perhaps they were wealthy women, perhaps their husbands were working, or there was a group of people who were kind of connected with him and walked around with him, or were in their homes looking after their families, but they gave into the pot. And we know that Jesus and his disciples had a pot, because we know that Judas Iscariot was actually in charge of that pot. So we do know that there was a pot. It was a shared pot where he and his disciples, who obviously weren't able to do their full-time work, were supported. The same with Paul and his missionary journeys. He was everywhere he went. He was gifted and supported by the churches, and he was often writing letters, wasn't he, saying, thank you for the gift, or I'm looking forward to seeing you. And you just got the feeling, like you could just bring it right up to date. You got the feeling like they were transferring him his funds in whatever way they did in those days, probably a bag of money. We would do it online, by transfer or something like that, perhaps today. But it's a similar thing. It's a wonderful thing. A prompt from the churches that he was blessing, the communities that he was blessing. Again, he also did what we call tent making, because he literally was a tent maker. So he obviously enhanced his the amount he had to live on through his own work, which he could probably do in different ways. So and then there would be some people in these different communities, the community of Jesus and his disciples, Paul, Peter, the apostles, throughout Acts and the following the death of Jesus. There would have been wealthy people who just had lots of funds through that they were business people, or they dealt in somebody dealt in cloth, didn't they? I think it was a woman, was it Lydia, in the Acts of the Apostles, but others would have just had wealth through however they had accumulated that. Similarly to now, there are people in our communities who have inheritances or pots of finance through whatever means, and God uses all of this. He blesses all of this. It feels to me like there isn't one particular way. And if we have finance, or even if we don't have a lot, there seems to me a season of being prompted at the moment to just open up the pot and send it or give it to the communities that we want to bless. And I'm going through a season of absolutely loving giving, which is quite new to me, but also receiving gifts at times. So there's like a real two-way flow. And I feel like this is part of our new season of seeing giving in different ways, being joyful and hilarious in our generosity. I think there's a story that Jesus tells. He tells a parable, doesn't he, about different people who started at different times and they were working in the vineyard. And in the story, the people who'd been working in the vineyard all day got paid the same as the people who'd just come in from the last 2 or 3 hours. And, we could look at that with our kind of fairness head or our PC heads and say, well, that doesn't seem very fair, does it? But Jesus was saying through that, it's up to him how he wants to give to people. And it's nothing to do with us, nothing to do with his people, to comment and say, well, that doesn't seem fair or that doesn't seem fair, because God is God. God is the generous giver and will do it in his way, which he knows our hearts. He doesn't do things like man does. So I hope that this has just given us a little bit of a basis for how we give, and with us in our own community and Church Without Walls, healing rooms, people regularly give into the pot, of which we can post details, and that goes to support people, support those of us who make decisions and lead in a fairly low-key way, and those who come maybe as guests and lead worship, and so many other things, give in so many other ways. There are people travel and have costs for coming to us. People, we have people going on mission trips, and there's many other things. And the pot is a creative, organic, flowing, giving, wonderful. The porridge, like the porridge pot in the old nursery rhyme or nursery story, whatever it was. It always keeps flowing. There are a basis of things that we use it for, using of buildings, etc. as well. But it's this pot that flows and flows ever creatively, ever prompted by the Holy Spirit. We give here and we give there and we give till we've got nothing left in there, and then it flows and it overflows again and it fills up again. So I just thought I'd like you to know that how we work financially and with giving in our own community, and I hope that's helpful. There's no specifics, but it's all the flow of the Holy Spirit and God's provision and God's prompts. So together we'll continue to obey the prompts and and believe Him for even greater and bigger things. You know, we are longing to have some kind of community base, like a large property where certain people can live who don't actually have a set home and can host, and we can use that place for other people to have short-term stays. We can use it for prayer, worship, or whatever. And this isn't a plea, because none of us have got that sort of finance available, but this is a plea to Holy God, holy and righteous God, and the giver of all good things and the provider of all good things, to bring it to us, bring these things to us. If that's what He's saying, yes, yes, I know that's what you need, He will bring it and place it into our hands and into our laps. So we can also maybe agree with that together. So lots of love, God bless, and thanks for listening. Take care.